Set the speakers to 11 and get ready for the musical onslaught of Metal Mayhem. Your host Carolyn will take you on a whirlwind tour of the world's metal scenes. Every Wednesday night from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., you can hear some of the most unique metal anywhere, exclusively on WRLR 98.3.
It's being called America's Classical Music. These exciting sounds filled with rhythmic syncopation and sophisticated harmonies may have started in the bordellos and with the African drums of Congo Square, but it soon spread to the penthouses of New York City and around the world, capturing generations of music fans with its intense beauty. I'm your host, Brad Walseth, and I hope you'll join me every Thursday night at 9 o'clock here on WRLR as we explore a wide range of jazz music and expressions of jazz.
Riders on the storm, riders on the storm. Into this house we're born, into this world we're thrown. Like a dog without a bone, and packed we're out on loan. Riders on the storm, there's a killer on the road.
Good evening and welcome to the February 25th edition, 2016 of the Certs Presents show. I just have to admit that I really get motivated during our opening music sequence, and I just love listening to it. So maybe a little bit long. Welcome to the Certs Presents show. This is the show that will prepare you for those emergency situations that are present in our everyday lives. Unfortunately, all too often. My name is Lou Bruno. I'm your host, executive producer of the show also, I should note. And I am joined by our co-host, this is new. Hold on, everybody.
Uh-oh.
The always prepared Ann Walker.
Hi,
Ann,
Lou.
how are you?
I'm good, Lou. Thank you.
Okay. You are still lovely, but also you are always prepared. We are members of the Fremont Township Community Emergency Response Team who present this show to you twice a month. I think everyone should be getting pretty used to that on WRLR 98.3 FM. The voice of Lake County, community radio for our Lake County, North Shore area. This show is also brought to you in conjunction with the Lake County Citizens Court Council, the people of Fremont Township, of course, who sponsor us, the Lake County Department of Public Health, who sponsor us as well as the station in part. And, of course, the great people who contribute to WRLR, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about them during the course of things. We are joined in studio tonight by Jill Hughes, the sparkly one.
Not so sparkling.
Not so sparkling. She was working hard last night, and we'll talk about what our CERT team has been up to, because we have been a busy group, as all the CERTs are. And even though we're going to talk about what Fremont has been doing, Fremont Township, it's not to slight the activities of the other teams that are out there in emergency management agencies, because everybody's busy. And ready for this, I promised everyone what adjective we would use for Mary Beatman, sorry. And it could only be amazing.
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 Thank you.
So the amazing Mary Beedman. How are you, Mary?
I'm good, Lou. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm amazing.
We are not joined tonight by Terry Cox, co-chairperson of Citizens Court Council of Lake County. Terry was having a little bit of eye surgery today. We hope it went well. I don't think anyone has talked to Terry, but he worked very hard, really, to arrange this show and our interview that we're going to be presenting and telling you about here shortly. Was due to Terry's hard work. He was working hard on Citizens Corp preparations already for the Lake County Fair. I know the end of July seems a world away, but he was working on that. So, Terry, hope everything is well. And call in if you're listening. We'd love to talk to you. On tonight's show, we will be presenting an interview with Tony Rotke. Tony is the public education firefighter with the Countryside Fire Protection District. And our primary topic with Tony that we talked about is the problem that has been recently in the news concerning ice safety, people falling through the ice. There was a very recent incident up in Fox Lake where an individual was rescued by the Fox Lake Fire Department. Great job, guys. However, there was an incident out near Kankakee where, unfortunately, an individual lost his life. It was out on his property, and I don't know how much that may have happened to it. He had rather, as I read, rather large acreage and may have been somewhat isolated. But Tony's going to tell us what to do when it's safe or maybe safe to go out onto the ice. And if you unfortunately fall in, if you go out there, what to do. And also if you happen to see either a person or a pet. Often you hear about, dogs stuck out on the ice, somehow got out there, and then, of course, somebody goes in to try to rescue them, and
then you got two people to rescue.
Yeah.
Two two whatevers.
Right. So we'll be playing the interview with Tony. It's a rather extended interview because there's just so much to talk about. Tony was just so informative, and also the things with Countryside Fire Department that you'll hear about, who actually sponsors our CERT team at Fremont Township, and we talked a little bit about that. And I guess I'll throw this out to everybody, but it seems to me, we all live through this every year. The spring weather comes and you get, a lot of, strange inclement weather. It's tornado season, severe thunderstorms, etc. But it seems it's come a little bit early this year on it. Last weekend, already we were in the 60s. Yesterday we had blizzard warnings.
And we're going to get in the 50s again this weekend.
Yeah, so some of the weather this weekend looks good.
Even though we didn't get a lot of snow up here, the winds were just brutal.
Yeah, it was quite a windy day, and as you recall, the week before it was really pretty windy. On that. I know my daughter goes to school at Auburn University in Alabama, and through the south the other day, a very serious line of tornadoes and thunderstorms went through. I think there were 3 to 4 people that were actually killed by the storms. They were at the school told to seek shelter at a certain time in a building that was going to be able to withstand some severe weather. Luckily, towards the university area there, I don't think it got too bad. Yeah. Nice. But those strange patterns are becoming stranger, I think, as we've all commented every year. The intensity of it seems to be changing much more and more, and coming earlier. I don't know, Mary. You're our weather
Am I
person.
the weather person?
It's one of your amazing talents. Is that you do weather on top of everything.
I was going to say, is this part of the concern everyone has for global warming when we have 60 degrees in the middle of February? But then in turn, I know when we had the last series of storms, I believe it was discussed the fact that this is part of the El Nino cycle. I don't know. I have a hard time keeping track of it from winter to winter, let alone month to month, what's going on with it. I just wish it would get warmer and stay that way for a while.
I think the strange weather patterns are becoming normal, not so isolated.
And obviously, last year we really had some ups and downs with the number of storms and the number of tornadoes throughout the entire United States, the droughts in California, then the overwhelming flooding. It's high cycle or low cycle. It's very erratic all over the country. And down in Florida, I know they've had tornadoes now, from what I understand. Like you said, in the South, your daughter's college, And then what are they going to move into in Florida then? The hurricane season?
Well, that doesn't come until the fall.
Well, that's what you think. Again, it seems like it's very difficult to predict anymore. And then the weather people try, to predict what's going to happen. And they probably are lucky if they've got a 50-50 average of being right or being wrong.
I think they did really well this weekend, though. I mean, yesterday, last couple of days, I was watching the Channel 2 news, Channel 5, I like Channel 5, and he was predicting the snow that it was going to be in Indiana, northwest Indiana, southern Illinois, and we weren't going to get very much up here, and darn it, he was right. Yeah,
they had aerial views this morning on Indiana, the roads in Indiana. I think they had 13 to 16 inches of snow in some places. When you go around the bottom of that lake, if anybody's ever driven that, there's a reason they say it's lake effect snow down there. And they had cars off to the side, trucks off to the side, people stranded.
One lady was in there for 24 hours in her car.
Mm-hmm.
She said she climbed in the back, put a blanket around herself. She'd run the car, turn it off. She'd nap.
And we've talked about that. We've had programs at the library where we talked about being prepared in the wintertime for inclement weather, being prepared at your home, being prepared in your car, putting together a survival kit in the wintertime, and with the hopes you're not going to use it, but exactly what she did. Having a blanket available, having water available, turning a car off and on, not allowing the exhaust pipe
Clean your tailpipe, right?
Plugged. Those are things that we've talked about as a group and done presentations, I know, at the library talking about inclement weather and how to prepare ahead of time. I'm hoping most of the people that were driving around the lake in Indiana were prepared.
Some of them were taken to warming centers.
Which is...
Yeah, I didn't see it, but did they have to rescue any stranded people or... cars stuck on I-65, which happens frequently.
They did take some people to warming centers. So.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and that's similar to what we had to do a few years ago in that February 1st snowstorm. People got stuck up here and had to be brought to warming centers, and the township was one of them, and our team got called out for that. But, we're still preparing people for, we're going to be talking about, the thin ice and watching out for that. And, I pulled out my what to do during a tornado sheet here just to remind people in case we have to, because, one of the things when we were doing our research is for tornadoes, when we spoke about it last year, tornadoes apparently have been recorded in the state of Illinois. I mean, each month of the year.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember any in January or February.
I'm sure we can document them if we research it.
Yeah, but apparently they have been documented pretty much, March through November, I know. It happens. But, I think Jill's comment is, probably the best. I mean, now the strange and unusual is just the normal on it, and I'm proud to say though that and I think it spurs the the interest in our groups and the other response teams throughout the county, the state, the nation, is that the normal abnormality, if we can say, of the weather, has forced people to participate and realize that they have to be ready at all times. And I reflected here the other day and last night especially, what our team has just been up to. And again, I know what our team's up to, and I know other certs a little bit about what they're up to from when we communicate with them or go to Citizens Corps meetings. But I mean, for instance, right now, Pat Stayskill and our who is our team leader and other team members are over at the Grays Lake Public Library presenting a public information session on called "Until Help Arrives." What to do during those few minutes, and we're going to be talking about response time. Ian and I, in the interview with firefighter Rodkey, what's the response time and what you can do? In a lot of situations, home incidents especially, Pat's running through for the people that are there tonight. We have this show going on. Last night, we've started up our training at Fremont Township for our new CERT team, and it looks just like a great group. The people were really just highly interested.
A talented group. We should say hi to them if any of them are listening tonight too.
Well, we told them they had a list to listen.
It was the
yes.
second week last night, and they did really well.
Yeah. And Jill was out there, back here tonight. I was at the Citizens Corps meeting last night, and actually did stop by the training, got to see some of it. The Citizens Corps meeting was quick, and we'll be partaking in some drills or training sessions. There's a medical dispensing drill that the Lake County Department of Public Health will be having on March 12th. Some of our team members are signed up for that, and also, a number of us will be going out to Hanover Township for a training seminar and information seminar out there, and just had some great topics that really made me sign up. Presentation about the Coal City tornadoes, Bartlett train derailment. I really wasn't motivated by they'll be talking about legal concerns for emergency services, but emergency vehicle placement for safety and traffic control, basics of search and rescue team formations, and now a number of us, I think we have about 5 people signed up. I think you signed up, Mary, and I'll be there, Chris, and a few more, and I'll be giving up a Saturday to go out there, to get prepared, to be ready, especially as the season really ramps up. So really proud of what the job everybody's doing, and I well done, everybody, well done. And let me just say, I know Mundeline's out there doing it, Wakanda's doing it. They were at the meeting last night. Waukegan, Antioch,
Buffalo Grove.
I mean, you can go on, and the people at Lake County Emergency Management, everyone involved in Citizens Corps Council. And just then too, what conjunction with that, the people that run 98.3 WRLR, just some amazing stuff that's going on here. They're already working on their summer remote schedule and preparing for that. Hopefully having a day broadcast out of the Lake County Fair. And on Sunday, and I was able to participate in this along with our President Bish. There was a candidates forum in Round Lake Beach. And, I was able to help Bish out during the broadcast of it. And really, I have to encourage people, if you have an opportunity to go out and see the candidates live, in person, you will get your opinion changed on who you may want to vote for. I walked in with certain impressions, some of it from TV ads. Those TV ads are designed to tell one side of the story, of course. And it was just a wonderful experience being there and seeing the candidates. It was a completely civil discourse. I think we're a little bit too used to the debates among the presidential candidates of both sides of the party, let's be fair, that, have gotten into name calling or other things, and it wasn't like it, and it was a wonderful experience. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about voting and our first show in March, on March the 10th, we will have the Lake County Clerk, Carla Weiskopf, in to inform everyone about where you can vote and how you can vote and whatever. But we got to start the interview. We'll hopefully, well, not hopefully, we should get a part of it in before the break, and we'll take the break and then finish it up afterwards. May have to cut it short. I've spoken too much. I'm sorry, Ann. You tell me to. You tell me to
what you do best.
Do that, yeah. But I will. Let's see if we can go to the interview that Ann and I did with Tony Rotke. This afternoon, we're doing this this afternoon, and I'm talking to my co-host, the lovely Ann Walker. How are you today, Ann?
I'm well, thank you, Lou.
And we're here at the Countryside Fire Protection District on Midlothian Road, just outside of Mundelein, with Tony Rotke. Tony, how are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me, Lou.
No, it's a pleasure being out here. And you are the public relations officer for the Countryside Fire Protection District.
A public education coordinator, a firefighter paramedic with the Countryside Fire Protection District, headquarters in Vernon Hills. Yes. And our Station 1 here is now incorporated into Mundelein.
Oh, okay. It's now in.
Yes, since we're tied into their water system. And these are the two stations that we have, which covered 26 square miles of our fire district. Okay.
And I should say, I don't know, this is a full disclosure, but our Fremont Township CERT unit, we are sponsored actually through the Countryside Fire Protection District, and they coordinate our training. And we thank you for that. And really, we've been remiss, given that we've been on over a year now. That's amazing, isn't it?
We're starting our second year.
Yeah, that we've not had someone from the district on. So my apologies to the chief. And he has to get out to the studio soon.
Oh, I'm sure he has no trouble with this.
Okay, that's great to hear. Now, you indicated how big is the district area-wise?
About 26 square miles.
Okay, and that includes what towns?
We have most of Vernon Hills, unincorporated Lake County areas, parts of Mundelein that we're tied into, Indian Creek, all the way down to Hawthorne Woods, and as far out to Fremont Center Road.
Oh, my.
On Route 60 heading west.
And that's a lot of ground to cover. And I mean, we're sitting here in Mundelein now, as you point out, on Midlothian Road. And I know the station number 1, that is over in Vernon Hills, pretty close to Hawthorne. So pretty good distance there.
Yes, well, we have some automatic response agreements with Mundelein, Grays Lake, Lake Zurich, our surrounding departments, that the closest fire station is going to respond.
Okay. Now, Tony, we're here particularly today, but before we get into it, to talk about ice safety, because there's been some real news about that lately. Just recently, there was an incident in Fox Lake where the Fox Lake Fire Department was able to save an individual that was stranded on the ice.
It was good news, and I know there's been some other ones too that have been unfortunate and resulted in fatalities.
I think that was Kankakee, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was an incident down in Kankakee or near it, and I think the individual was out on his own land and wound up falling in a pond or lake down there, but that they unfortunately arrived too late.
Yeah.
On that. So we wanted to get that in today, but in your role, because I know if you look at the Facebook page you have, there's plenty of photos of you going out and talking to school groups.
Well, that's my main role as the
Yeah.
public education coordinator, is to have structured programs on fire and life safety education, particularly in the schools. We have 15 schools, 1 high school, 5 middle schools, and 9 elementary schools. In addition to the community entities, the villages, the park districts, the library districts, and getting out different educational programs in fire and life safety there, and the businesses in our fire district that we will also provide educational programs in fire and life safety.
That's where I got the question about, maybe we'll talk about it later, the Gumby suit. I was reading where you were giving a presentation at Libertyville High School. I think it was Libertyville.
Oh, Vernon Hills High
Vernon
School.
Hills
Yes,
High
we
School.
just did a ice safety program in the outdoor education classes that they have. So we saw 150 students that are in this outdoor education program and discussed the dangers of ice and what's safe, what's not, and the different equipment that we would use. And the Gumby suits and the Mustang suits are an insulated suit that help keep us warm and dry, and a flotation suit all in one to help keep us afloat should we have to enter the water. Of course, that's the last thing we want to do, but in our role, we're prepared for that.
Okay. So, Tony, might as well, get to the topic. I don't want to say a hot topic, no pun intended. But it's the time of year where the weather's changing. It was 60 degrees last weekend. Today, there's near blizzard conditions.
And that's what makes the ice so dangerous. The unpredictability with the weather fluctuations. We had the freezing, we've had the thawing, and this has actually been a cycle this past winter. The freezing, the thawing, the freezing, and the edges of the ice, I'm noticing a lot of open water in our fire district, making it unpredictable, the freeze and thaw cycles. Objects in the water retain heat as well. Your piers, stumps, when the sun's beating down on those objects, it's going to weaken the ice around them. So it gives a false sense of security when people are out there ice fishing or snowmobiling across it during the day. Also, what makes ice dangerous are the springs and currents that are running through or near those bodies of water. And also the depth of your ponds and lakes. The shallower the lake or pond, the easier it's going to freeze and stay and be a thicker ice, versus your deeper ponds and lakes are going to take a while more time in order to freeze, to give a safe ice thickness.
Yeah. Tony, actually, this past winter, and it has been a particularly cold winter, but I have seen some people ice fishing out here, and in my 25 years in the area, either Vernon Hills or Mundelein, I don't recall seeing people out ice fishing. But in any event, they're out there doing it, and is there a rule or something they can judge when it's safe to get your fishing pole and put that hole in the ice?
Well, we want to have an ice strength to be able to hold those bodies. And one way to figure that out is to take the thickness of the ice and square it. So let's just go with 3 inches of ice. There's a formula, 3 times 3, 3 inches of ice squared is 9. Then times 50, 9 times 50 is 450. So that area, that thickness of ice could hold 450 pounds. I'd be a little leery to go on 3 inches of ice myself. 4 inches of ice, do the math on that, okay, and we're going to have a stronger ice to hold people. And the thicker the ice, you're seeing all the way up into Minnesota, vehicles on ice. Even locally, we're seeing snowmobiles out on ice. So one way to check is with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. They're right up there at Chain of Lake State Park. Give a phone call. You could ask them what they're finding out, the ice thicknesses, and if it's safe to go on it. But that is just one way of calculating it.
And that's a great
Ice
resource. Thanks for mentioning that people can call up and get a check.
Up in, I think it was Lake Geneva, was it, where the cars parked on the ice and they sunk into the ice? No, somebody apparently wasn't checking.
There wasn't the ice strength was too weak, and that is what we need to understand. Is if we're going on weak ice, particularly on a vehicle, it can definitely go through. So I just wanted to calculate what would be a safe ice for a vehicle to go on. Perhaps a snowmobile, which weighs probably about 500 to 600 pounds almost now with these heavier machines. So we're going to say we had 5 inches of ice. So 5 times 5 is 25, right? Mm-hmm. Then times 50 can hold, that ice, 5 inches of ice could hold 1,250 pounds. Now that's probably appropriate for a snowmobile. So that's.
And we'll break right there. We'll come back to the interview and run some spots here, and then we'll be back with the Sirs Presents show.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Since Comcast came into the Lake McHenry County area as the primary source for cable TV, they've shown themselves to be one of the most community-minded companies around. They've graciously provided our studio facilities with cable TV services so we may monitor national news, and CHSI high-speed internet service so we may stream our broadcast signal via the web to increase our coverage area to include a global audience. For more information on basic cable, digital cable, or high-speed internet cable services, their website is www.comcast.com.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is.
It's essential. It's essential.
With Play 60, United Way and the NFL are helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day.
Healthy kids, healthy kids.
But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60 because great things happen when we live united.
Donate, donate.
Are you guys going to do that every time?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Does Katy Perry cause you heart palpitations and extreme nausea? Does Fall Out Boy give you hives? Does Taylor Swift make you break out in a cold sweat? Does formulaic corporate rock radio give you flashbacks of being towel whipped by jocks in the locker room? No one? Just me? I better talk to my therapist about that. Anyway, Subterranean is on every Thursday night from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. playing the best underground, indie, avant-garde, and non-mainstream music the big stations ignore. In fact, we guarantee each week to play at least 10 artists we've never played before. Join me, Mick Cullen, and Carolyn for Subterranean, Thursdays, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. right here on WRLR.
Well, I always knew I was crazy for you. How'd I know you'd thrill me so? If this is love, well, it's fabulous.
Hello there, I'm Paul Peters, and I've just popped into WRLR to tell you about the Fabulous 50s radio show. It comes your way on Thursdays at 5 p.m. and again on Saturdays at 2 p.m. And I shall be here with my old mate Jeff Kemp, otherwise known as the Cockney Playboy, playing you some of our favourite music from the 1950s. We play it all from rock and roll right the way through to Nat King Cole. So why not join us on WRLR, the voice of Lake County, on 98.3 on Thursdays at 5 p.m. and Saturdays at 2 p.m. We'll see you then.
Well, it's fabulous.
And we're back after our spots here. And once again, I'm Lou Bruno. I'm the host of the Sirs Presents show. I am joined by the sparkly Jill Hughes. Going from my right to my left, the sparkly Jill Hughes, the amazing Mary Beedman, and the always prepared Ann Walker.
It's team.
And Ann, you wanted to make sure, because we had told our audience, and I should have mentioned at the top, we originally were hoping to present Mike Springer from Disaster Relief services through his Baptist church, but couldn't get here tonight. So we apologize for that, but Mike will be joining us in future shows and hear about the fabulous thing that he and his church group does for disaster relief. But you, being always ready, always prepared, wanted to tell our audience about another church-based group.
Yeah, I was talking with my son about the Baptist disaster relief, and he listens to a radio program, a television program, and there's another organization out there called Operation Blessing, and they are similar to the disaster relief by the Baptist Church. They come in after disaster, they bring in food, they bring in water, they bring in first aid, and they do that all over the United States and all over the world. And I wanted to get that out there too, because there are a lot of people out there ready to jump in and help. These are all volunteers ready to jump in and help people when there is a disaster.
Right, and when Mike Springer spoke to Citizens Court Council, he made a point that the church-based groups actually had a more difficult time getting involved until actually the law changed to allow direct contact someone as a first responder, and that because of a change of the law, you were able to contact the faith-based groups to come out and help respond. So, again, another reason to go out and vote, look at your candidates, see what they're doing, because certainly this was a change in the law that really helped. We're going to get back to the interview with Tony Ratke of Countryside Fire Protection District. I don't know, and I apologize in advance, Tony, if you're listening, or some of the other fine firefighters there. I don't know if I'm going to get it all in. As usual, I've talked too much, but we'll start back up now.
What we're looking at, and that's probably a formula that the Illinois Department of Natural Resources also uses. So with a truck, they're 1 ton, 2,000 pounds, you're looking at 8 to 10 inches of ice that you're probably going to need. And you don't see that too much around here, particularly with the weather fluctuations.
Okay. Well, let's say you decided to get out onto that ice, however you made that decision, whether you called up Department of Natural Resources and they gave you some information, or you went out on your own and the worst happens. You fall through, you wind up in the water. What can that individual do, Tony, to start saving themselves?
Well, one of the first things we want to do is try not to panic, and that's easier said than done. First thing you're going to want to do is probably keep your head above water, and you're going to be gasping at the same time because of that immersion shock it's referred to. Your body's going to lose its heat 25 to 32 times faster in water than in air. That's incredible. Clothes on, you're in the water, immersion shock. So you're gasping for breath, and at the same time, you're trying to keep your head up. You take a mouthful of water on or inhale, that's going to be bad news for you. So you're going through the ice, trying to not panic. Very difficult to do, easier said than done. But then what we're going to try and do is grab the side of the ice, okay, and try and get your elbows up onto the ice and get your body horizontal like you're swimming, okay, and kick and try and pull yourself up onto the ice. Should you be able to do that, as you re-enter the good ice and you want to go from the way you just came, roll away from the hole, okay? Very difficult to do in a self-rescue. Not to panic, control your breathing, move to where you just came from, because that was good ice, working your elbows up onto the ice, get horizontal, kick with your legs while you're trying to pull yourself back up. Much easier said than done. Mm-hmm. And then the key would be to roll away instead of trying to stand up, roll away, and then crawl to that better ice.
Right. Now, when you get over to that better ice, just hang on or try to lift yourself up immediately onto hopefully what's hard ice that will support you?
Yes, I would imagine by then you're back on good ice, but now you're soaking wet. You're going to need to get that stuff off. You're going to need to get warm as soon as possible, because hypothermia is not going to take too long to set in. And really, what hypothermia is dangerously cold. It's when our body core's temperature is going to be below that 98 degrees that we keep it at right now. It's dropping. Our core body temperature's dropping. We start shivering. Shivering's a good thing. That's our body's way of reheating itself. But if your body's core gets to below that core temperature where we don't shiver anymore, now your furnace is not working, and that is life-threatening.
Now, I've heard, I don't know whether this is true at all, that it's important to shed the wet clothes as soon as possible.
I would want to get out of those wet clothes and get dry. Exactly. It's just like we do with newborns. We need to dry them, okay? We need to dry and warm them. And the closest house, calling 911.
I guess don't be shy. Knock on the closest door. Tell them, give me a blanket because I got to get out of these clothes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if that happens to you.
Hopefully we're going to travel in groups. And speaking of rescue, that's the first thing people should do versus trying to go in and help them. The ice wasn't strong enough for that person. It's not going to be strong enough to hold you either. So in helping others, call 911 first. Encourage them to try and help themselves and trying to calm themselves down. Not easy to do before you go out. Then we're going to be looking for things to either reach or throw. It could be an extension cord. It could be a long branch. It could be a ladder laying next to a shed. In Lake County, up around the chain of lakes, there's over 450 miles of shoreline.
That's just a chain.
That's just the chain.
Down here in the district.
And there's a lot of houses on the chain.
Right.
The chain of lakes. So as somebody who's looking to help, might be better to go make sure 911's called and see if there's something that you can reach out to the person who's in the water, in the ice, went through the ice, or grab something to throw to them before you become a victim as well.
Okay. So people, if you're out there and you see somebody, the urge will be to go in there. Don't. Make the call first.
Make the call.
Almost everybody's got their cell phone on.
And we always say reach, throw, okay?
Okay.
Reach, throw. We would go because we have the
You're gonna
Mustang.
have that suit.
We have the Mustang suits. And
Yeah.
we have the other capabilities.
With an animal, a lot of people, you hear the story every once in a while, almost every winter. I saw a dog, I saw a cat stuck out there in the ice on a floe or in the water. Same thing applies?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please don't endanger yourself. I know everybody loves their pets, but call 911. We're going to do our best to save the pet as we would yourself.
Okay. We've been talking a little bit about the suits that you have, but also you have some other specialized equipment. We see it every year, and before we get done today, we'll talk about one of our favorite events, the pancake breakfast in the fall.
Oh, yeah.
But you always have the equipment display there, and Countryside has in its inventory a hovercraft. Am I correct?
Oh, we've had the hovercraft for years before I've been a firefighter paramedic, and I've been with Countryside 15 years now. The hovercraft is actually something you fly, okay, and it's designed to use this fan that inflates at the bottom, and the air is held in, so you're actually floating, and you fly moving forward or to the side. And we can get out onto the ice. I think it works much better on the ice. It's a little more difficult on the water, but it does work. Whereas, like, I know Fox Lake has that nice airboat, okay, that pushes them around too, whether it's on the ice or the water they're used for. So there's different apparatus to be used in various rescue incidents.
I guess I ought to ask if you need a specialized license to drive the hovercraft.
No, we do spend time training with it regularly in the summertime on the water, and now when we have ice as well.
Yeah. I've over the years. I don't think I'll be doing any more in the future. My family used to dive regularly down in the Caribbean where the water was, 75, 80, not icy. But let me tell you, when, you mentioned immersion shock, I mean, even going in to, basically, water that was 78 degrees, it does shock your system, and you had to get used to it. I mean, each and every dive, you had to get used to, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get a little shock, give it 30 seconds, get moving, and then you'll be okay. You adjust to it. But where I was going to get at that, do you also have a specialized dive team that would be able to do some cold water diving or ice diving?
Yes, we have divers who train in under the ice and would be part of the special response team here in Lake County. We would get our divers obviously going as quick as possible within our district and be calling for help without a doubt.
Okay. And I mean, for instance, up the road here, there's a fairly good-sized lake, which people do some ice fishing, and say there was a call that over by Countryside Subdivision, hey, somebody went through the ice there. How quickly would, for instance, a diver could get out there if there was a need for a diver? What would you estimate the response time on that?
Well, I know we have divers pretty much on every shift here, so as fast as we can get there and get their equipment on. Realistically, a good time would probably be around 20 minutes, and that's a long time.
Yeah,
It's a long time.
But I'm being realistic.
But it's a quick response.
Yes, by the time the call's been made, we're preparing, getting equipment, getting out the door, getting to the scene, getting in that equipment, getting a location. It's realistically 20 minutes, which is fast.
Right.
But it's forever when you're in that water.
Yeah, no, we, through our outreach programs, we run some seminars. In fact, there's going to be one up at the Grays Lake Library. We've done it also at Mundline, where we try to alert people based upon our CERT training that we get, with your department, what to do in that interim, before help arrives. I mean, there's just got to be a gap, whether there's a fire in your house, whether you have an injury in your house, a gas explosion, something of that nature. 5 minutes is going to take that long for anything.
So with CERT, it'd be kind of following what we discussed about, is there something we can throw out to them? Is there something we can reach out to them? Finding the resources nearby. Our ambulances carry the Mustang suit. So you were talking about divers and how long it might take them to have all their equipment on the scene and in the water, 20 minutes, I said. Well, the Mustang suit could be on as quick as the ambulance can get there, get it on, get him tied off, and he's heading out. And that realistically can be done within the first 10 minutes. Just like the ambulance typically responds, we're pretty good about getting to anywhere in our district within 6 minutes. On the farthest point, so by the time we get there, figure out what's going on, get the suit on, it could be within 10 minutes that the Mustang suit's on, actually making a rescue.
That sounds
versus
like
divers.
Yeah, better. Wouldn't a diver more or less be?
Diver's going to have the tank on, and yes, and they're in cold water. They are still revivable. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. All right. Apologies to Tony Rodkey. There was still a little bit more to go, but as we always find out, we do have a lot to say in every show, or at least I'm talking a lot in every show. So the last few minutes we're going to have to pass on. Lou Bruno back on 98.3 FM live, not on a recorded interview that Ian Walker was nice enough to stop by and help with. And we're back with Ann Walker, Mary Beatman, and Jill Hughes. For about the last 10 minutes that we have here, Ann, your thoughts about the interview? Again, just outstanding information.
Oh, it was really
presented
interesting
by Tony.
It was very great. It was very helpful. about how to rescue. Don't go out on the ice to help people. Throw something to them. And it was just a lot of interesting information. And he talked about the thickness of the ice as well, and how the ice, right now you think it's safe. It's really not safe because of the changing in the weather. It gets warm, it gets cold, it gets warm, it gets cold, and that ice is breaking.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, folks. Probably let's stay off the ice for the rest of the season. Worry about your ice fishing, at least locally here. I don't know how it is up in Wisconsin or Minnesota. Mary, you've actually don't you do some ice fishing? You and your husband?
Not ice fishing, but snowmobiling.
Yeah.
But the weather up there, talking about unusual weather patterns, has not been as cold or snowy as long of a season as it normally is. But as with a lot of other things that we've talked about in CERT, being prepared when you're snowmobiling or when you're boating or when you're ice fishing, being prepared in advance, being aware of your surroundings, having communications with you that's maybe held in a plastic bag so that you can get to it. I read about something called a 1-10-1. I don't know if Tony discussed it, and it's a measurement where you have 1 minute after being submerged to get your breathing under control, and I guess if you can do that, that will lessen your chance of drowning, dramatically decrease it. After that, it says 10 minutes of meaningful movement, because after that, your dexterity, because of the cold water, starts to become less. And another one represents an hour. That's when hyperthermia starts kicking in. So, they actually know how long all this takes. So even though 10 minutes and 20 minutes seems like a long time when you're in the water, you can see by these measurements that they really have it down to a science to get to the people to help rescue them.
Yeah, and it's saving more and more people, I think, as you pointed out, and some of the stuff that Tony pointed out. I think we'll leave this topic. Hopefully we won't hear of any of the incidents either around here or nationwide for this year at least. And I think it's time for Hughes News You Can Use. Jill.
Excuse me, I'm speechless. I was going to mention that the state of Illinois is no longer mailing the vehicle emissions testing reminders, those yellow cards that used to come in the mail. So to find out if you need to have your emissions tested, if you got to replace your sticker and you don't have your emissions test, you're not going to be able to do that. I think there's some a grace period, I think, until March. But after that, you won't be able to do that. Phone number is 847-758-3400 to find out when you need to have your emissions tested. And there's also a website, www.illinoisairteam.com.
Okay, and it's important because, one, we want to keep the air clean, but two, I won't get into the reasons why. That may get into politics again, but right now the Illinois Secretary of State is not mailing out your vehicle registration renewals as well as the emissions testing.
Yeah, and we will wait for those in the mail, and they're not coming, so...
Yes,
it's up to us.
That got me this year too. I remember the day after mine expired and got right over to the Secretary of State's office. Another item of Hughes News do you have?
I was going to start the go bag. We all talk about the emergency go bag we have by the door, and we haven't really discussed that. So I thought if everyone can get an old bag that they have, a backpack is a great idea. Old kids backpack or anything. Lightweight canvas bag, and then next week we'll have a few items to let you know what to put in there. Things you can find around the house and start filling it.
Great idea. And usually if you come to one of our library presentations, we'll give you an item or two you can throw in there.
Exactly.
There you go. And before we go, I mean, everyone wants to know, you personally met the other night a rock and roll legend.
I did.
Can you tell us about it?
I can. I met Peter Noon from Thomas Hermits. We went to see him at the Genesee, and it was just a great show. A third time, I think, I've actually met him, but it was, he does not age. Don't know how he does that, but, he's always looking about 45, and, no, great show. So was good.
All right. Mary, closing thoughts that you may have.
Well, to remind everybody, early voting starts February 29th, and it runs through the 14th. I think there's about 14 different locations that you can use for early voting. Something different this year, you can go to any of the 14 locations and vote, but when you do voting on March 15th, you can only go to your polling place.
Okay. And Ann, besides being a CERT volunteer, the co-host here, and always ready, you're an election judge this year.
I'm a site manager, and I will not be able to be at the WRLR meeting this Saturday because I will be training.
How could you?
I know.
Site manager, congratulations.
That's just, it's no big deal. No big deal.
Congratulations. And we will be having an interview with the Lake County clerk on our next show. I think I mentioned it earlier, Carla Wyckoff, who will be talking in depth about voting procedures, voting locations. Predominantly at that point, we'll be telling people what's new on Election Day so they can get out to the polls and have an efficient time when they're there. And, I will say, since I've been a Lake County resident and voter, the polling places have run very efficiently and very, very smoothly, and you do get in and out on Election Day, which, we all don't want to waste a lot of time, but we all should vote on there. So that you can have your voice expressed. And WRLR will be having an election night special, trying to really focus on the local races. You'll have your networks on, and you'll have the local stations looking probably more at the state, and you get like a 30-second, and up in Lake County, but they're looking to focus a lot on our local races. And so that should be exciting for the station. Thanks for Bish and Rich, I think, who have been putting that together. They have an outstanding lineup of people that are going to be in studio and reaching out to some of the candidates they've lined up to talk to. So that's certainly one of the exciting things that's taking place here at WRLR, and there's a number of exciting things. Don't forget the sports guys will be following the Lake County teams that are in the state basketball tournament. So hopefully a Lake County team will get down to the state final as they did last year, as Stevenson did. Before we go, again, I want to wish Terry well. Jill has made up a get well card. She had brought some craft paper in and scissors. I was going, what, is it arts and craft time, Jill? What? But she was making a get well card for Terry.
And we'll make a cake as well.
Yes, and she'll have a cake here next time Terry's in studio. So Terry, get well. And again, thank you to all of those who are CERT volunteers, response volunteers. The professionals out there. You have incredibly busy schedules, and you're doing a wonderful job. And I will say goodnight from our CERT radio show. This has been the CERT Presents show for February the 25th, 2016. We'll see you here in 2 weeks on WRLR 98.3, the voice of Lake County, and good night.
WRLR, Round Lake Heights, Illinois, 98.3 FM. Listen to the Dave Mearswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues on every Sunday from 12 to 1 p.m. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mearswa is the leading trial attorney, bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to the show. The Dave Mearswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. On every Sunday from 12 to 1 p.m. on WRLR 98.3, the voice of Lake County.
We're the Brecker Brothers on a mission from God to bring rock music into your life. In the name of the Beatles, the Doors, and the Led Zeppelin, amen. We know rock music is the fresh air you breathe and the energy source to inner peace. That's the communion you will receive when listening to the Brecker Brothers every Friday night from 5 to 7. And remember what St. Peter said, upon this rock music, I will build my church. Yeah.
I always say we are actors in a play called Life on a stage named Earth. Tuesday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. on WRLR, I explore this experience that we all share. My name is Bob Slipke, and the name of the show is Something to Think About, and that is what I do. I give you something to think about, and I have fun doing it. Once again, Tuesday nights, 7 to 9 p.m., join me on WRLR.
If you could ask God any one question, what would it be? Hi, my name is Gary Ritchie. I'm the pastor of New Hope Christian Community Church in Round Lake. And each week on my show, What's for Lunch and other spiritual questions, we handle the big questions of life. Why am I here? What's my purpose? If God is so good, why do such terrible things happen? I hope you'll join us Fridays at noon as we discuss the big things of life. So tune in and find out what life's all about.
Hope your evening is going well. It's 8 o'clock.
You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake Heights, Illinois.
You're on the phone with your girlfriend, she's upset.